Okay. So Adam Norris, Brian Kidney, Kristen Ayers, Mark Tomaperi, Cindy Gray, Becky's here. Is there anybody else at the meeting?
There is not.
Yeah, please. Okay, I call the meeting to order. The first order of business is approval of the minutes. We have minutes from two meetings, May 1 and May 6.
I'd like to move approval of the minutes from both those meetings.
Now you have to do it independently of each other. Sorry, you can't do both.
I'll move approval of the minutes. Let's see, the May 1st meeting.
I'll second that. Okay, they're accepted.
Move approval of the minutes. Let's see what the date is. The May 6th meeting.
And I'll second it again. No discussion, they're accepted. For the citizens' information, Mr. Perkins is out of town and he's in Branson, and it's difficult to maintain a connection for Zoom. So he's missing this meeting. All righty, now we have monthly financial and operating report update. Okay, Mr. Kidney, I gave Dr. Roberson a copy of the April operating and financial report just about 10 minutes ago. And I don't know if Mr. Perkins has it. I know I have it. Would you like to just talk to us about it, or would you like questions? How do you want to do this?
If you would like, we do have the May report. I think I mentioned that yesterday. Didn't have the time to forward them on, but I do have the May reports, and I can share it on my desktop and just kind of scroll through it and give some highlights on it. Or if either of you have any questions about the April report specifically, I could answer any of those. But
Brian, why don't we scroll through May? Scott,
okay.
Seriously, just this April report for 10 minutes. And I do have specific questions, but I can wait. So let's do.
Okay. And I'll remind the council that, or the committee, that these reports will be uploaded by the 15th of each month following the month end. So it looks like I've just been given the opportunity to share. There we go.
So is April up on our website now?
Absolutely. So let me back up a little bit here. This is on the finance department website, the finance department, and then it's under a heading called financial reports. And then when you click on financial reports, you'll get all the reports that we do publicize. So you'll see budgets. Of course, there's the recently published recommended budget for 2021. You'll see the monthly reports, and this is a pull down, and then you'll see April 2020 there. The 2019 CAFR is right here. And then, as I shared with you another time, the travel reports that we've talked about in the past are here. There wasn't training in April and May, so that's why you don't see those reports here. I know Cindy is on this call also, and so Cindy, let's have our staff go ahead and run April and May reports, and it just won't show anything, but at least it won't look like we missed the actual month. So that's where you'll see on the 15th of the month all of these. And so so I will go over, if there's any questions how to access it. If not, I'll just go ahead and jump over to the May report itself. And
I just have one quick I have
Okay.
one quick question. The CAFR's on there, but I didn't see the single audit report on there. And I don't know, is it located someplace else? Or,
You know, we typically don't publish the single audit report because the purpose of those financials are for the federal granting agency. But
I think we should really publish it. I think the citizens deserve to see it. I think it's important. So I would like it published. Do I need to do anything special to get it published?
no, I don't believe so. We will we'll work on this layout. I think we might need to change this layout a little bit, but we can get the single audit reports on there also.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, Brian, I mean, I think we've got the continuing disclosure statement on there, and, you know, a more boring document doesn't exist in the world. So I think the citizens would rather look at the single audit report than the other report. So if you have to switch them, go ahead and switch them. Okay?
Nothing truer has ever been said.
Okay.
We will, that makes complete sense to me. That continuing disclosure report is pretty rough. All right, so again, after I make this presentation, the May report will be uploaded on here. So I'll just go to the heading just to make sure. So you'll see it's the May report. It has a table of contents, of course, that has each one of the funds available. There are 56 funds that we report, which includes all the TIF funds, all the special revenue funds, obviously the general fund, and even internal service funds. So it is a pretty comprehensive listing of the funds that we do have that we work with. Let me just mention a couple caveats on these reports. We've mentioned and we've talked through our annual financial report, which is based on generally accepted accounting principles. But you'll see the title of these are a budgetary comparison schedule. So the focus of these reports is showing interested parties the original budget, if that budget has been amended, and then the activity compared to budget, and then a percentage of what that budget is. So May 31st is 11/12 through the month or through the year, and that's 91%. Any math I think my math might be right on that. So as you're looking at these reports and you'll look at this annual percent actual, you're wanting to compare it against that 91%, which is 11/12. Keeping in mind, there's a lot of things that are seasonal. So if we're looking at this at the beginning of the year, starting in July and on, these percentages may not match up very well because of the seasonal nature of something. But keep in mind that we should be able to answer why it wouldn't. So looking at this, you'll see that we're just slightly short of sales taxes for right now. This variance number is based on not a monthly, but the full annual budget. So that's actually not a bad place to be. There's the charges for current services is pretty much that, and the fines and forfeitures. These are directly related, I believe, to the pandemic. The charges for current services, obviously, we're not out there collecting people. We don't have programs that people are coming to. And then on the fine and forfeitures, there hasn't been like a court fines would be in there. Court is, of course, have been closed. And so the fact that these line items for these revenue sources are significantly below the 91% is not unexpected. It's been part of the manager's office budget reviews, and it's right on track with what they felt was going to happen with those two line items. Of course, payment in lieu of taxes. The payment in lieu of taxes is very much, it's obvious. And so with the collections and the shutoffs being slowed down, you'll see that there's we're not, well, actually, I guess now look at this, we are right on track. So we just have a little bit more to make up for this last month. So it does actually look like we're on track there. On the expenditure side, you'll see some, again, some under the 80 or 91%, some over. Law, I can speak very clearly to that one. That has to do with some additional legal work that has been done for some cases that's come up. City clerk, I believe that has to do with elections, and I cannot right off the top of my head remember why we might be a little bit over on the strategic goals. But overall,
you might want to change that title. I don't think we have strategic goal funds anymore. They're gone. We gave them up a while ago, Brian. The city needed money elsewhere, so we haven't had that in about 2 years now. So it's just city council.
okay, noted. So that then is the revenue and expenditure side, and that's how you would read all of these reports. And then, which brings us down to what we're calling unassigned fund balance. And we have it broke down between unassigned fund balance, and then we have restricted and committed and assigned fund balance here to come up with our total fund balance in the general fund.
Boy, Brian, I'm looking at April, and the total fund balance in April was 8.47, and this one is 7.16. That seems like a dramatic decrease in only a month, doesn't it?
This 768,000.
The total fund balance, 7.161. See that at the bottom?
Mhm.
April was 8.477. I'm just saying it seemed like a pretty big decrease in just a month. But maybe I'm not, I don't know. I'm just commenting on that. Do you have any idea as to why that would have happened? I mean, wow, that's a big jump. Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, specifically, it would have to do with the fact that the revenue sources haven't been, again, as I mentioned, the court and the other fees haven't come in this month due to the COVID. So that would, again, that would not be unusual then from what we've talked about during the budget presentations.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure specific funds as we go down. I know that yesterday you had some questions about utility funds, so I can skip to utility funds unless there's other specific funds you would like to take a look at.
And Brian, I don't know if this is a question for you or for the city manager, but for example, I'm looking at the use tax money for the animal shelter and then also the police. And I noticed at least in April it was page 7. I don't know what it is in May, but both accounts were like $247,000 was collected through April on the use tax. And I'm curious, do we have an update for May on those?
Yeah. If you look in the screen, it's the same page in May. So it's 478,000 through May.
And I'll tell you, it was only 247 last month. Okay, and so Mr. City Manager, here's my question. When are we going to start spending that money? Did we ever say? Are you on? You're not on.
So you will see that there was $46,000 spent.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Zach's microphone. Zach, try and talk. Maybe they can hear you and maybe my machine isn't working. Brian, can you hear Zach speaking?
No, I cannot.
Nobody can hear you. You can come over here. Hold on, I'm giving up my seat.
So with the police department, right, with the police department budget, we are creating those positions and we'll start hiring those employees now. And then so whatever time we get those new employees hired, and we'll start spending money there.
Okay, great.
With the animal shelter, we're spending.
Now?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Can I make a comment?
Only if you turn on your microphone.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
So he said we're going to start spending on the animal shelter. I'm getting feedback. Gonna have to turn down your mic speaker. The only concern I have about hiring police using some of that money is we don't have a track record to know that this is going to be a stable income. And so I would not spend all the money on the police side down. That I would actually recommend that there be a reserve set up for the police side of that spending, and maybe at least 20 to 30% of it be in a reserve fund in case the ups and downs of income from the use tax causes a problem with payroll for the police. Because we need a stable income, a stream of income for hiring police officers. We don't want to hire 20 or 30 police officers, and from this year's budget, it looks like we have enough money for their salaries, and all of a sudden next year the income from the use tax is down, and where's the money going to come from? We don't want to be hiring and then laying off officers from one year to the next. You see what I'm saying? So I would suggest 20 to 30% reserves in the police side so that you have some stability for ups and downs of income from the use tax for the police side of the budget.
Mr. City Manager, maybe that would be a good subject for our next study session, since it looks like we're getting quite a bit of funds in. I think it might behoove all of us to be a little bit more cautious. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I just want to add, I predicted this. I told you so. I said the first year we're going to come close to what we need, the 1.5 million for both the officers as well as the animal shelter. And I believe it's only going to go up from there, and we won't have a waterfall effect next year, I'm predicting, from the use tax to the general fund. So I'm glad to see that. Just wanted to say, I told you so.
So with that, I could, if you'd like, I could move on to the utility funds.
Page 10 is the Square Benefit District, Brian, and they had like $29,000, but it looks like they're not spending any money. And I'm pretty sure that's not our money. I mean, I think it's run by a group of citizens for the Square, and maybe I'm not reading this correctly. I don't know if they know they have $29,000 to spend, or maybe they don't, and I'm not reading it correctly. So can you tell me, Brian, do they have money to spend, and can somebody tell them?
Yeah, that fund works through a reimbursement. And it might be a case that we just hadn't received the reimbursement request for whatever expenditure they may have.
Well, I'm going to mention to them that there's money there waiting, so expect a reimbursement request.
Yeah, they're not afraid to ask for it, so that makes sense.
Okay. And then the awful CDBG funds. I did not understand page 11. Percentage of actual was only 12%. These numbers just looked a little different to me, and I just didn't understand them. If you could just spend a minute, Brian, explaining why they're so different.
Yeah, I would say the CDBG operates. It is a kind of a little bit more of a difficult fund. It's one that's hard to predict what the revenues and expenditures are going to be. This one originally was anticipated $831,000 in revenue. They amended it up to 1.5 million. Actual is 205,000, which is why it shows 13%. However, many times the CDBG is a reimbursement after, so the revenues more likely or most of these revenues are going to be coming in after this fiscal year. So this completely makes sense when you're talking about the CDBG and how some of these grants operate.
Their reimbursement, I forgot that. Okay. Next, license surcharge started with a negative number. That's page 13. And there was nothing, at least in the April budget, that showed any money was budgeted originally or amended, and yet the actual amount budget basis was a negative 9,520. I just don't understand how that is. And I also don't think we have $1.24 million in that fund. Do we?
So this would be, I will have to get back to you on this particular one.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I'm thinking that's like, if I'm developing homes, I'm gonna charge developers $1,000 per lot. And I'm pretty sure we suspended them, those license surcharge fees. And then we picked them up again, then we suspended them again. So that fund is a little suspect. If you could look into that, that would be great.
Well, I will say that there are some funds out there for, I believe, some specific project areas that may not have been requested because there hasn't been the development in that area. I would need to and when I follow up with this, I'll be following up with Tom, unless maybe if Zach knows anything about that, any of the specifics on that.
No, it's pretty, I just would be surprised, Brian, if it has that much money in it. I was on the license surcharge subcommittee with a few people a few years ago, and we never had money. So, okay, they were all my questions on it. Scott, did you have any questions in your brief review?
I just got it from I didn't get a copy.
Okay. What does it mean, Brian, as long as I have your attention? Unassigned fund balance. What does that mean? Define that. Maybe he didn't hear me, I don't know. Is Brian there? Maybe we lost him.
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
I gave,
no, that's okay.
You just missed the greatest explanation ever.
Oh,
sorry. No, unassigned fund balance is basically, it's the funds available that have not been restricted for other purposes. So, for instance, the page I have open right now, it has a line item for encumbrances. It happens to be 0, but if there was a contract in place,
okay.
If there was a contract in place, it would restrict the fund balance, and so that amount would not be unencumbered fund, or it wouldn't be available for fund balance.
And so you start a year with the beginning unassigned fund balance, you then make revenue, you have expenses, and you net out, and so you have a different unassigned fund balance at the end of the year, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I think one of the very last questions I'll ask you, and you're saying, oh, thank you, God. What does miscellaneous expense mean? For example, IPL, that's page 15, at least in the April one. And this was the first time I noticed it. Miscellaneous revenue or expense. The ones prior to this, at least I did not notice that line. And it's like $2 or $3 million. And I just wondered, what is miscellaneous revenue or expense? That's a big number to me.
Right. So the miscellaneous revenue side, I right off the bat, that's just any kind of other revenue that comes in other than charges for services. So I
My
think
late
this is
fees.
correct. So I think I'm looking at the room that we have available. There's plenty of room. I will have that adjusted. We'll put more line items on the revenue side to break out instead of it just saying miscellaneous. I think that's good feedback. That is an awful lot of money just to call miscellaneous.
It was to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. Okay, so water pollution control, the last one I'm gonna pick on. Less revenue, 5.9 million as of April. Less expense though was 13.8 million, which was wonderful. And I just wondered what projects didn't we do for water pollution control? Because that's the only thing I could think of why it would be that big a difference. 13.8, you know? Do you have
I'm
any
looking.
idea, or is that really for Lisa?
You know, I believe this is part of the presentations they do at the PUAB. So
Okay.
she will have that at the PUAB, but also she will have that readily available.
Okay, and I'm going there. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and
Anything?
oh.
Go ahead. I was not going to say anything else.
No, I was going to say that if that was your last question, then I don't have anything else to present for you.
And I don't believe Dr. Roberson does. Okay.
No.
Okay, Munis. I looked over the single audit report again, just to remind myself about how important Munis was. And then I looked at the money that we spent so far on Munis. And it's a whole bunch of money. And I'm really not willing to wait till May of 2021 to fully implement it. And I know that you're trying as hard as you can, but we need to get a number that we need to spend to get the training to have it fully implemented. And I wondered, can you tell me how much more money we need to spend to get it fully implemented?
Honestly, I'm not prepared to give you a number right now.
Okay.
I still need
Who
to.
would be the one? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would be that person that would be coming up with that number as part of my management request or so we'll regroup if we're talking about moving it up 6 months, moving it up 9 months. I'll just need to find some consultants that would be able to help us and get some ideas and numbers put together. I'll have a better idea for this meeting next month.
Okay, and I'll tell you what, Brian, I'd like the number as soon as you can get it. I don't want to wait a month. We've spent over $5 million right now. We spent $5,436,000 on a system that isn't fully implemented yet. And this system is 2 years old. I know we've had trouble with some payroll with firefighters. Hopefully that's been fixed. We're not going to repeat those problems. But we have a significant deficiency found by our outside auditor. And the reason is that we have a Munis system that is not fully implemented. We can no longer marry manual records with automated records. And I'm not willing to wait. And I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm doing it because the citizens deserve it. We had one material deficiency, 3 significant deficiencies. We have got to do better. And so, Mr. City Manager, I'm putting you on the spot too. And I'm sorry, but we need to do better. And Munis is the answer. And if it's not the answer, I want to know why we spent over $5 million buying it. So as soon as we can get those answers, I'd appreciate it.
We will get that in short order for you.
Okay. The first material deficiency that the outside auditor found was we were going to have a complete review of the recording system, that the staff has reconciliations of the accounts, and poor Nancy Cooper's in charge of that. I wondered if Nancy is able to, has that been completed? Are we doing the monthly reconciliations? No problem? And after Nancy was doing it, I think she was supposed to send it to somebody to review it and then somebody else to review it. Has that been implemented?
Yes. Cindy, I know you're on the call. I'm not sure if you have anything else to add on that.
Turn your volume up.
Oh, sorry.
Because I turned mine down. And
Okay.
now I can't hear you.
Okay. Are the customer deposits now being automatically reported in the general ledger?
So
Or are they still
let me
manual?
say that wasn't the deficiency.
Well, that jumped out at me.
Yeah, the deficiency was that the amount, not the individual deposits, the amount was not recorded, and that amount is being recorded on the financials.
I wrote down that customer deposits are not automatically reported in the general ledger. So are they now being automatically recorded in the general ledger?
There will still be a manual entry to get the deposit amount onto the financials.
If Munis is fully implemented, is that going to continue, or will that be fixed so it's automatically implemented or automatically recorded?
That's not necessarily a Munis issue. That is a issue between the Munis software and the utility billing software. And so again, that's one issue that we need to be working with, the utility billing side of things.
Any idea as to when that will be fixed?
Nope.
That involves, this is Cindy. That involves.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi. That involves a crosswalk because the billing software is a different system. It is not related to Munis. So there'll have to be a crosswalk that will have to be developed in order for that to be automated. So until then, we have to do the manual entry.
And who's the person who's going to create the software? Is it something we purchase?
It will be working with the Munis individuals and the customer billing software individuals in order for them to make an interface that will allow the two systems to talk to each other.
Brian, is there any way you can find out how much that will cost and how long it will take?
Yeah, we'll add that to the to the question you'd asked earlier.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And then the second item is only a significant deficiency. And Brian, you were charged with doing this one. And that is the procurement standards. Maybe make it so we don't have our own special procurement standards, but we follow the federal standards on accountability and awarding projects. Have we done that yet?
It is on the council agenda for Monday.
Awesome, thank you. Third, a significant deficiency. Munis is not set up to prepare the financial statements directly from the information contained in the general ledger. You're going to get that information to us, right?
Correct.
What steps need to happen? What's the cost? All that stuff. Okay. And then I believe it's Nancy Cooper who's the one who's going to be reporting to the federal authorities on CDBG and home funds. I assume that's, we haven't had any more problems, right?
Correct.
Great. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Dr. Roberson has some questions.
So just questions about the Munis software. Is it a cloud-based software, or do we own the software package on our own server?
It's a Cloud-based software.
Cloud-based, okay. So do we have other backup systems in place besides that cloud? Or is the cloud the only backup?
By definition, the cloud, so in that case, what you're doing is you're relying on the vendor for the backup, and they have multiple locations where it's backed up.
Okay. Are we cross-training some of our staff so that there's multiple people that know how to use the Munis software?
That is our goal.
That's a goal, okay.
We're limited by the amount of staff that we do have in order to cross-train.
It might be good to have a person in a couple other departments, like the city manager's office, have somebody trained so they could access Munis for reports or for information for the council. So it's always good to just have some people cross-trained so that they know how to use the software and access information.
So let me then back up a little bit.
Okay.
Across the city, there are multiple people who know how to access the data and run reports. It is very much meant to be a decentralized reporting. I believe there are people in the manager's office who already do know and do pull reports and look at information on this. So in that, I'm very comfortable that there's multiple people who can access the information on Munis.
And are the company that has the Munis software that we're buying it from or have bought it from, they're doing multiple upgrades. I'm sure they're doing at least one a year, but that's done through the cloud since it's cloud-based. And how much are we spending, Brian, for a yearly license fee to use it?
I cannot tell you offhand what that license fee is. I think it's in the it's wrapped up into the payments that we're making for this current month. I would have to pull the contract or ask somebody to look at that.
Okay, so we're still buying the software, but we're also paying a yearly license fee, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. How soon will we? You have any idea when we will have paid off buying the software?
I believe it was a 5-year purchase.
5 years. Okay.
With us being in the 3rd year now.
Okay. Okay. I think that's all I had. Thanks, Karen.
Okay, moving right along, we are now finally at the IPL audit update. Mr. Toma Perry, are you there? Mark, nobody can hear you, but your microphone looks to be on. That's odd. Try and speak now, Mark.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Okay. All right. The audit report was finished and delivered to the manager's office last week. On Friday, they are going to take 2 weeks to review and provide comment. So that should be due back at the end of next week. And then I believe the plan is to have another Audit and Finance Committee meeting to address that audit 2 weeks from today. No, I can't hear you.
Either the end of June or beginning of July. I'm not quite sure yet. Mr. Perkins is not here, so. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll just have to figure
End of June.
End of June, okay. Well, we have our meeting, June 26th. Mr. City Manager, is that okay with you? Okay, June 26th, any particular time, Mr. City Manager? At this point, I'm calling it for 10 in the morning on June 26th. Thanks, Mr. Toma Perry. And Dr. Roberson, we're going to miss you on this committee.
Thank you. I'll miss being with you all. It's in good hands, and I'm sure you'll get a new member that will be good. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, do you have anything that you'd like to address the group with?
Nothing today.
Mr. Kidney, anything?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. I call the meeting over. It's 3:12.